What's up guys, Universal Mastery. So in today's video, what I'm going to be talking about is the different phases and the different cycles that you go through on your evolutionary process. So basically, in other words, what types of states of mind that you're going to be encountering and how these states of mind are going to shift as you move through your journey. So stay tuned. Okay, so the first thing that I want to say is there's an idea that a lot of people like to hold on to. And that idea is that they like to hold on to me. Meaning, they like to say, okay, this is who I am, and this is who I always am going to be. And people will identify with things very, very, very quickly. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing to identify with things. I'm not saying that. But because, and this is the majority, because people identify so strongly and so quickly to things, they literally shut off their open-mindedness to being like open to changing, to unidentifying with that certain thing and then re-identifying with something else. So because people, excuse me, sorry, I was eating some pistachios. Because people will identify and get stuck with that, that me and that certain type of ego, it shuts them off from the extra steps on their journey. So you can almost imagine someone thinking inside of a box, and because they're still identifying inside that box, they're not allowed, and literally they're not allowed to see outside of that box, because it takes a certain amount of energy, it takes a certain amount of knowledge, it takes a certain amount of understanding to start to unidentify with things that you feel are not serving you anymore. So what I'm saying is there's going to be times in your journey where you're going to have to identify with certain things, and you're going to have to learn and extract as much information as you possibly can from that specific thing. And then you're going to have to detach completely from that thing and then go somewhere else, go into a completely another direction. You don't want to hold on to that thing forever, because it's going to shut you off from figuring out what's on this side and what is outside of this, of that box, what's over here. And this is the next piece to the puzzle. So if you're so focused on that one piece of the puzzle, you fit it in the puzzle, you're like, okay. And you just sit there and you're looking at that piece. You're missing out on the other pieces that are missing in the puzzle. So basically, there's a common understanding that I have for this journey that is what we call the evolutionary process, the process of you moving into your enlightened self, the ascension process. Now I'm going to tell you this: there's no final state where it's like you are fully enlightened and now you don't have to do anything anymore. This is a continuous process. Now there are states of mind that you can obtain and work towards during this ascension process that literally blow your mind, meaning that you would not know what I'm talking about unless you experienced it. Like where things are just lining up all the time, things are just making sense, things are manifesting very quick, things are working out, the stress levels are lowered, you feel like you're in control. These are states of mind that you can work towards, but the only way that you can get to those types of states of mind is through this ascension process. Okay, and for some reason a lot of people don't understand that, and in society they also try really hard to distract you from that, to take you off your journey so that you do not reach these enlightened states, because if you did, then you would be more powerful, and powerful people tend to make change. And when it comes to those elite groups in the government, they don't want change. They don't want you guys, they don't want people to figure out what they know. Okay, because if they figure out what they know, we could get to a point where we kick them out of their position, and we kick them out of their traps and their techniques to hold the consciousness inside that box. So you have to really be independent about this and serious about your own ascension process in order for you to make it through these trials and make it through these traps, and just have that higher understanding and awareness of what you're encountering and how it's meant for you to learn from it. And then once you gain that understanding, then you maneuver through your ascension process a lot smoother. So once again, back to what I was saying, my experience with it so far is that there is something that is very essential that you have to do during your ascension process, and that is called shadow work. Okay? So shadow work is essentially working on the aspects of your life that you've repressed for a long time. So it's like, it's really painful, and you might have like physical tension in your body when you're working on your shadow. It's very stressful, and it's very deep, and it gets dark. But what it does is it purifies you and it purges you. And to be quite honest, when you work on your shadow, some people call it shadow integration. That's a great term for it, because you're integrating those traumas. You're like working through them and easing them out and neutralizing them by diving into them and understanding, well, why did I feel this way when this happened to me? Like, is it really that big of a deal? Like, can I go back into this and like accept what happened and realize like this makes me stronger, things in that nature. That's like what integrating the shadow is. But when you're in that state of integrating your shadow, the shadow is like a dark aspect of your ego, and it's very important. It's actually one of the most powerful parts of your entire being. So you want to come to know it. You want to come to build a relationship with it. So doing shadow work does that. So when you're in that state of doing shadow work, your awareness is heightened, okay? For some people, shadow work is really fun. Even though it's painful, even though it's stressful, it's actually fun because you feel like you're in control. You're in a heightened state of awareness, and you know you're making progress. You know you're working on yourself. You know you're doing this, and you know you're adding the pieces to the puzzle. Once again, you're like, okay, this screwed me up back in the past. How can I heal that? You're diving into all these things. It's a very intense work. But then there's some people that are more emotional, okay? And for those people that are more emotional, which is most people, shadow work is harder for them, okay? Because you have to really take control of your life, and you have to become responsible for everything that happened. And it tends to be, for emotional people, that's hard to do, because people that are too emotional like to blame other situations, and they want everything to be easy, ebb flow. And most of society is emotional. Most people are overly emotional, and that's how people get triggered so much, is because everyone's so emotional. You can just say one little thing and it's like boom, and it blows it out of proportion, and now someone's entire day could be ruined just because you said one thing. Hold on, I gotta let my cat out. Okay, go ahead. So in my case, it wasn't like that. In my case, I'm more logical. I know that it's more important for me to heal my traumas, and because I'm logically minded and I like getting straight to the work, doing shadow work for me is no problem. Like, I love it. I'm one of those people that loves doing shadow work. No matter how hard it gets, no matter how painful it gets, I like that pain. Now, once again, if you're emotional, it's a little bit harder, but it's an essential part of your journey. So moving on, there's going to be parts on your ascension process where you have to work on your shadow, whether you like it or not. Then there's going to be parts where you have to work on your emotional side after you do the shadow work, to then get down to your baseline emotion and see where you've come. To basically, you go through this state of going through all these traumas, going through so much hardship. You're literally like broken the fuck down. Your ego is shattered. Your physical body might be in pain. And then once but all this is also healing. This is so healing at the same time. And then you get to a state of being emotional where you trust. Emotional states are very intuitive. So by working on the shadow, it really helps you get in touch with your intuition. So then when you make that switch to become more emotional, trust your emotions, you can actually trust your emotions more, because some people don't know how they're emotional and they don't know how to control their emotions, meaning like they're just letting them fly everywhere and they're being moved in all directions like pure chaos, and they don't understand that they are in control of their emotions. Like, you can choose to be happy, you can choose to be upset, you can choose whatever you want, whatever you feel like doing in that moment. So then, once you work on the shadow, there's a certain stage where you trust your emotions. I like to call it the process of trusting your intuition, because it's more trusting your intuition than your emotions, okay? It's more listening to that deeper understanding. So to give you guys an understanding of what that means, you may feel a certain way about something, but your intuition may tell you that certain thing that you feel. Let's say you feel like you don't want to do that, like, I don't want to go to work today. The intuition will tell you you should go to work today because there's something you got to learn, there's something you got to work on for yourself. Or, I don't feel like exercising today, but your intuition tells you you should exercise today. That's the difference. That's why I like to say trust your intuition, and the more that you trust that, the more your emotions align with that. And once again, the more you work on your shadow, the more your emotions align with your intuition as well. So that's the phase that I've seen so far on my progression, is that there's these phases of shadow work and then trusting your intuition. So it's like phases of just being like, so like, let's crush it, like, fuck it, let's go in and slay the dragons, let's become this powerful being. And then there's phases where it's just like, let everything go, and you're in more of a meditative, intuitive state, and it's a complete switch. And you can see in society on this journey, a lot of people fall off their path because they identify with one. So you have those gurus, you have these yogis that just sit there and they don't do shit but meditate all day, right? And then you have these other guys that are like so business savvy, and they're just like crushing, but they don't meditate. And you can see that they've identified with a certain part on that journey, but the real key to these states of consciousness where you can literally manifest things like with a snap of your finger, is to balance these two states of mind and to understand the process. Like, you're gonna go through times where everything's like, let's crush it. Then you may switch into that intuitive state, and then you'll go back to that mindset where you're like, crush it. It's just part of the cycles, okay? And then these cycles are also correlated to the planets as well, but I'm not gonna go into that now. But this is what I have understood from these different transitions in my growth process. And if you guys don't know, I really dive deep into spirituality, into myself. I do ritual to be able to flesh these understandings out. So the stuff I'm talking about is the real deal stuff. So if you resonate with this, then you know what I'm talking about. You have this intuitive sense that you do go through these states of mind change, these states of being. And they change, okay, during certain, periods in your life. So, that's where I'm going to leave this video at. So, once again, if you like this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, because I'm trying to post videos as often as I can. And drop down in the description below and click the link. It's called Streamlabs, and that'll take you straight to my merch. And my merch has sigils on it, so it's symbols of power. So meaning when you look at it, it literally charges that symbol with a certain intention, and you can harness that energy and use it however you'd like. So other than that, I'm gonna catch you guys on the next video, and peace.